Welcome back. In this video, we'll be learning HTML grouping and marquee. These are elements which allow you to group together several elements to create sections or subsections of a page. Example of such elements are the div element and the span element. The div element is used to group block level elements together, while the span element on the other hand can be used to group inline elements. Basic, I've created this file and I've saved it already as grouping and marquee. So let's try that by opening and closing our div element. Now, let's include what the div element will be containing. For example, this is testing for grouping and also span element. Okay, with that, let's test run our browser and let's see what we have. Let's go to the file where we have saved it and run it on our browser. So this is what we'll have on our browser. This is testing of grouping and also span elements. Now, let's add some CSS style to the div so that we can actually differentiate it as it groups it together and differentiate the div grouping and the span grouping as well. I've given it a width of 100%, a height of 50 px and a background color of red. So let's save it and run it. So this is what we'll have. So now let's add the span element. Remember we said the div element is used to group a block of code, while the span element is used to group just an inline text. So let's add the span element here. I will enclosing also span element with the span element. Let's add some CSS style to the span element. So let's save it and run it. So this is what we'll have. Now this is showing that also span element, this text here belongs to the span element, while this is tested for group and also span element all belongs to the div element. So whatsoever thing we type in between the opening and closing of this div tag falls inside the grouping of this. So that is how grouping works in HTML. So let's see some other thing. Let's discuss marquee. HTML marquee is a scrolling piece of text displayed either horizontally across or vertically down your website page depending on the settings. This is created by using HTML tag called marquee. Let's navigate downward and add some marquee. Open and close our marquee tag here. And let's add some text right here. Let's test run that and so we'll have. Let's save it and reload our page. Test running it. This is what we'll have. This is what marquee gives us. It enables us to add some text or images that will be scrolling. So anything embedded in between the opening and closing of the marquee tag gives us this kind of functionality on our HTML document. But the marquee tag has other attributes such as the width attributes, the height attributes, direction attributes, behavior, scroll delay, scroll amount, loop, BG color, horizontal space and vertical space. So let's see how we can use those attributes to alter the output of these marquees. Let's start by adding the background color attribute. Let's give it yellow. Let's Ctrl S and reload it and see what the background attribute gives us. So this is what the background attribute will bring. It will bring a background for the marquee where the marquee will be displayed. So let's add another attribute to the marquee like the width attribute. Let's say 50%. Let's Ctrl S and run that. You see, it just stopped exactly at the 50% of the page. So even if my browser here is being increased, it will be increasing to exactly 50% of the page. So let's see what the height attributes will give us. Let's say 100 px. Let's save that, Ctrl S and run it. You see, it has increased the height of the marquee. Now let's try some other attributes like the behavior attribute. Alternate as the value of this behavior attribute, but the behavior attribute has three values. It's either you use alternate, slid, or scroll, but by default it is scroll. Like what we are saying now, it is scroll by default. Let's add another attribute called alternate. Ctrl S and run that. You see the difference? Once you get to the wall, you hit it and comes back. Let's make it bigger so that you see the functionality very well. Alternate. Once you get to the wall, you hit it and come back, unlike the scroll. So let's see what the scroll will give us. Let's reload the page now. You see the scroll will not hit it, but will go in between it. Yeah, that's how the scroll function. But if it is the alternate, want to get to the wall, it will hit the wall and bounce back. So let's try some other attributes, like the scroll delay attribute. The scroll delay attribute affects the speed of the marquee. Let's give it the value, say 400. Ctrl S and run it. To make it real slow. Now, if we want to make it fast, we just reduce this value to like 100 now. It will be faster. So that's how it works. Want it to be so very fast, you can reduce it to like 10 and reload it to be fast. So that is what the scroll delay does. Another attribute is the direction attribute. Let's see what that will give us. The value for the direction attribute could either be left, right, up, or down. So let's try up and see what up will give us. Ctrl S and run it. To be going up. So let's try down and see what down will give us. Ctrl S and run it. Wow. So let's try left and see what left will give us. Ctrl S and run it. It's coming from the left direction. So let's try right and see what right will give us. And run it. It will be coming from the right direction. That is how marquee works. We have other kind of other attributes as well that you could try on your own. Other attributes like the horizontal space, attribute, and the vertical space attributes. The horizontal space attribute and the vertical space attribute could have value like 10 or 20%. You can try that on your own. We have the loop attribute and the scroll amount attribute. The loop attribute tells if the marquee is going to be looping to infinity or after some loop it stops. You can add the value to that. The scroll amount attribute tells how far to jump. This will have a value like 10 etc. So see you in the next class. In the next class, we'll be discussing how we link different pages to create a website, and as well how to add images to our HTML document. Hi, this is brought to you by codebasket.com, and don't forget every class has its own exercise, file and video for easy comprehending that are made available for members only. So if you're not yet a member, why not visit our site now, www.codebasket.com, and sign up as a member to have access to this exercise, videos and files and other additional add-ons. So see you. Cheers.